Captain Trell of the Galactic Confederation scout vessel Distant Shadow had seen many strange things during his 20 cycles of service. He'd witnessed the living crystal forests of Proxima Centauri IV, sailed through the rainbow nebulae of the Horsehead, and even survived an encounter with the dreaded Void Walkers. But nothing in his extensive career had prepared him for what his sensors were now detecting. "Magnify," he ordered, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as the main view screen responded. The object that filled the display caused a ripple of murmurs to spread across the bridge. It was massive, a behemoth of metal and energy that dwarfed their scout ship by orders of magnitude. Angular and utilitarian, with none of the elegant curves typical of Confederation vessels, it bristled with what could only be weapon systems. "What species built that monstrosity?" asked Navigator Vex, her tendrils curling in apprehension. Lieutenant Crado, their xenobiologist, leaned forward from his station. "Based on the configuration and energy signatures, I believe it's human." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Confederation, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 30 years prior. Most species took centuries to develop from their first FTL jump to building significant space fleets. Yet here was evidence that these newcomers had already constructed capital ships that rivaled anything in the Confederation Navy. "That can't be possible," Captain Trell said. "They're practically children in space travel terms." "Children who survived 3 global wars on their homeworld," Crado reminded him. "Our initial assessment may have underestimated their military capabilities." The Distant Shadow had been dispatched to monitor the border region between Confederation space and the aggressive Tauran Empire. Relations between the two galactic powers had been deteriorating for decades, with many fearing full-scale war was inevitable. If the humans had constructed such formidable vessels, it could shift the balance of power significantly. "They're hailing us," announced Communications Officer Lumi, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with surprise. Captain Trell straightened his uniform on screen. The face that appeared belonged to a human female, her skin a medium brown, her hair cropped short. The insignia on her uniform marked her as a high-ranking officer. "This is Admiral Reese of the Earth Alliance battleship Defiance *. You've crossed into protected space. Identify yourselves." Trell introduced himself and his vessel, explaining their Confederation mandate. The human's expression remained impassive, but her eyes, only 2, unlike his 4, studied him carefully. "We're conducting joint exercises in this sector," she stated. "The Earth Alliance has treaties with both the Confederation and the Taurans." This was news to Trell. "Your species has diplomatic relations with the Tauran Empire?" A slight smile crossed Admiral Reyes' face. "We find it beneficial to maintain communication with all our galactic neighbors, Captain." After exchanging coordinates and formal pleasantries, the transmission ended. "They're inviting us to observe their naval exercises," Lumi reported, reading the data packet they'd received. "It seems they have an entire battle group in the sector." When the Distant Shadow arrived at the designated coordinates, the crew fell silent once more. 5 human battleships, each as massive as the Defiance hung in formation around what appeared to be a mobile space station. Smaller vessels, destroyers, frigates, and fighter craft swarmed around them like insects around giants. "Their industrial capacity must be immense," Navigator Vex whispered. "To build such a fleet in mere decades." Lieutenant Crado had been analyzing the data their sensors were gathering. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, his voice tight with concern. The display shifted to show a technical analysis of the human battleships. Their hulls contained alloys unknown to Confederation science. The weapons systems utilized principles that the Confederation had theorized but never successfully implemented. And most concerning of all, their propulsion and power generation capabilities exceeded anything in the known galaxy. "How is this possible?" Captain Trell demanded. "They've been spacefaring for less than a century." Crado's voice was grim. "It appears they've been concealing their true technological level from us, perhaps from everyone." The exercise began without warning. The human vessels moved with a precision that belied their size, executing complex maneuvers that would have been challenging for ships half their mass. Their weapons demonstrations against automated drones showed firepower that could easily disable Confederation or Tauran capital ships. When it was over, Admiral Rees invited Captain Trell aboard the Defiance for a tour. Against his security officer's advice, he accepted. Walking through the corridors of the human battleship, Trell was struck by contrasts. The technology was advanced beyond anything he'd seen, yet there were touches of primitive aesthetics, paintings on walls, plants growing in hydroponics bays, and music playing in recreation areas. "You seem surprised by our capabilities, Captain," Admiral Rees noted as they observed the main reactor chamber. "Your species has achieved in decades what takes others centuries," Trell admitted. "It's concerning." Reyes nodded. "Humanity had to evolve quickly or perish. Our history is filled with conflict. It taught us to adapt rapidly, to innovate under pressure. And now you stand between the Confederation and the Tauran Empire with ships that could challenge either. We prefer to think of ourselves as peacekeepers," she said, "though we're prepared for alternatives." As Trell departed the Defiance he composed his report to Confederation Command in his mind. How could he convey the implications of what he'd witnessed? A young species with advanced technology, positioned between two galactic powers, with diplomatic ties to both. The humans weren't just newcomers anymore. They were a force that would reshape the galaxy. And as his ship pulled away from the human battle group, Captain Trell couldn't decide whether that was cause for hope or for terror.